What's going on? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Justin Sotas, if you don't already know, and on this YouTube channel what we do is we focus in on three different areas: physical, mental, and spiritual health, a full systematic approach to you becoming the best version of yourself. So today we're going to be talking about dealing with anxiety and depression. That's right, dealing with anxiety and depression, and I'm praying and believing that by the end of this video you'll know what to do so you don't have to deal with it anymore. That's right. Dealing with anxiety and depression completely stinks. If you're just stuck in one of those zones to where you're depressed all the time or you have this anxiety all the time, it's just not a way to live. I have been there, and from time to time it comes back, but I know how to overcome it. Throughout the last 11 years I went through a living hell with my health. That's right. And I don't know if you're on here right now because you're dealing with a health condition, and anxiety and depression is just something that's added to the already symptoms you have from some other illness that you've been diagnosed with. I'm going to tell you some things that have helped me on my journey that I believe that are going to help you on your journey. That's what we do here. We really just get together, we come together, and we're able to learn and grow together, because inside the word it says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's right. So if you don't have the knowledge, you could perish early because you don't know what to do. So let me show you what he has shown me and how I've gotten results, so you can overcome this every time it may come in your life. So whenever you feel depressed, I know what to do. Whenever I have some anxiety, I know what to do. Health is just so important. That's right. Like, just stop for a second and think about it. Health is extremely important. And I think that from time to time we forget that, because we may be just dealing with things like anxiety or depression, or dealing with these symptoms, and we're not able to live our best life. That's right. We're not able to live and feel as if we're blessed like the Word of God says, because inside the Word it says that we should above all else prosper and be in good health. Anxiety is serious. Depression is serious. Anxiety by itself mimics so many different diseases, so many different illnesses, 130 symptoms in our body. That's just anxiety. Then we got depression. That's a whole different monster in itself. Sometimes people may think that they're same, they're totally different, but depression and anxiety normally go hand in hand. And depression itself mimics so many different illnesses and so many different diseases. And what I mean by mimics is you can get these symptoms that kind of manifest, and then all of a sudden you think you have this horrible disease actually coming from depression, or it's coming from anxiety. Before we get into what we're going to talk about when it comes to the solution, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not claiming to be. So anything that you adjust to your regimen, please check with your trusted sources first, whether it be your doctor, whether it be your nutritionist, whoever it might be. This is just information that I've learned on my journey that works for me, that I like to share with others, so you can make a judgment or a call on, hey, you know what, maybe I should give this a shot, or maybe I should give this a try. On my journey, YouTube has been very instrumental, when it comes to me learning new things from people that have actually been there and done that. There's nothing more that I can't stand than, hearing from somebody that has never experienced any kind of symptoms, any kind of sickness, or any kind of illness, and they're trying to teach me about things that they've never been through because they're just giving me the textbook. I don't want to hear that crap. I want to hear about, hey, listen, I've been there, I've done that, and this is how I've overcome it. This is the results I've gotten. Let me share how I've gotten those results today so you can make a determination, hey, listen, maybe I should give that a try. When it comes down to like illness or disease or anxiety or depression, one of the best solutions to that problem is preventative measures. That's right. The best cure, in a sense, is preventative measures, so you don't have to ever get to that point to where you're dealing with symptoms, disease, cancer, anxiety, depression, whatever the case is. So preventative measures are the best way. So if right now you're like, you know what, I've never dealt with that, I don't really care, I've heard about people dealing with those kind of things. Let me tell you a quick story. I know somebody that has never dealt with sickness in his entire life. And I said I shouldn't have said that, but the point is this person's close to me, and then all of a sudden sickness manifested in their life. And it's because they weren't practicing the preventative things. So it can happen to people that look extremely healthy. So you have to always be on guard and really protect what you have. So you want to keep this health that you already have. So you have to know what to do to keep it. My illness came out of left field too. I was pretty much just doing residential real estate. I was kicking butt and, really wasn't thinking about getting sick. I ate somewhat healthy. I worked out somewhat. And my spiritual life was out of whack. My mental state was out of whack. And then all of a sudden, I get a shift in something in my body. And then I start feeling off balance. Then I start feeling dizzy. Then I start getting symptoms. And then before you know it, like in a matter of a couple months, I'm literally like on death's door. And anxiety and depression definitely came at that time because I was freaking out, not knowing what I was going to do about the situation or how I was going to solve it, because I was trying everything and it wasn't working. And then when it comes to depression, I was so down. I was in the biggest funk because I was like, man, like I don't have time to be depressed. Like I got to do deals. I got to get back on my A game. But God had different plans for my journey. That is for sure. I wish I knew what I'm getting ready to tell you today, because I believe these simple tips, these simple keys are going to help you with anxiety and depression, because I don't want you to get stuck in a state to where you're like, you know what? I'm just dealing with anxiety. I'm just dealing with depression. It's just kind of part of my life. I don't want that to happen to you, and neither should you. Depression, it's just kind of part of my life. I don't want that to happen to you, and neither should you. I believe that there's different ways that anxiety and depression show up. Okay, that's right. There's different ways that I believe that they just kind of come out of nowhere. So if you're feeling good, you're feeling happy, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a funk, chances are, number one is you're not really grounded. That's right, you're not grounded. You got so many things going on. You got busyness, you're all over the place, you're overworking, you're stressed, and this is normally when you'll see anxiety and depression pop up in your life. What I mean by not grounded is you're just overloaded. It's like you got this computer, your body, and you're just continue to keep on pumping information in it, pumping schedules, pumping to-do lists, pumping I gotta do this, you're not sleeping well, and then before you know it, your computer, you ever hear that noise when it's kind of running at a high temperature or it's got too many things going on? That's what happens, and it starts malfunctioning, it starts slowing down, and then you start to experience these symptoms. I saw a medical doctor, a neurologist at the University of Miami, and he was telling me about how depression itself can cause something called a stress movement disorder, to where it can affect the movement of your body, how you react, how you respond. And once again, I'm not saying you don't have, a certain illness or if you've been diagnosed with something, but what I'm saying is anxiety and depression mimic a ton of things. So we have to nip these things in the bud, even if you have a sickness or illness that they're saying that is serious, because you want to get your whole entire body physically, mentally, and spiritually in the best state possible, so you don't have to deal with the symptoms that come with anxiety or the symptoms that come with depression. So being grounded is so important. And one of the other ways that I believe that anxiety and depression show up is when you're not doing enough. That's right, you're not doing enough. Like you have this idle mind, or maybe you're kind of isolated and you're just not being accomplished. There's not a lot of things stimulating your life or your mind or your body. You start having this battle inside your mind and you start feeling like, you know what, I'm not good enough. Look at other people out there. I see these people on Instagram. They're really doing it. I see people on YouTube. I see people on Facebook. They got the best lives. And that is not the case whatsoever, because a lot of people fake it until they make it. If you're not doing enough, that is part of the problem. Or if you're isolated, you have to really watch out, because that is when you'll see anxiety show up, or depression, and then sleep problems, and the list goes on and on and on. Another reason it shows up is when you feel stuck. Like when you get yourself in a jam, like I was with my health condition, and I'm like, man, I just don't know what to do. Like I've tried everything, and you feel stuck, or maybe you're in a marriage situation, and it's just really toxic, and you just don't know how to get out, and you feel stuck. Or you're trying to, you got this business going on, and things are just not going well, and you have to show up because you need the money, but you're becoming more unhappy, you're becoming more depressed, anxiety, even thinking about showing up to work. What I'm telling you is you have to be careful with being stuck, because if you're stuck, this is when you see anxiety and depression show up. Imbalances, when your life is out of balance. For example, this is one that I struggle with a lot. When you're working so much and you're not having any time to really reward all the work that you're putting in. You're not even celebrating victories that you're having when it comes to work or accomplishments. You're working, no play, you know the deal. It makes you a dull person, and that is what starts to cause a shift inside our chemistry in our bodies, because our bodies are meant to be in unity and in harmony. And what happens is when you're out of balance and you're so one-sided, maybe you're on the opposite side of the spectrum. All you do is like leisure stuff and you lay around and you're always doing your favorite activities, but you never have any like real work. You really have to get in a position to where we are in balance. Another one is lack of focus. You're not focusing, you're not trusting, you're always worrying, you're always trying to be God. That's right. What happens is when we stop trusting Him and we start worrying about tomorrow, because we already know today has enough worries of itself, we start to say, man, like I got to do something about this now. Basically, I believe that anxiety and depression show up in our lives because we're not really living a healthy overall, balanced, grounded life. Ever notice when you experience anxiety or like you're down, that your whole entire schedule and your agenda is completely out of whack? You're not really grounded like a tree. You're not firm. You're not planted. You're not living on purpose. That is why I believe that anxiety and depression show up. And of course, when I say imbalances too, nutritional imbalances, like you're not taking care of the temple right, you're eating whatever, you're drinking a bunch of soda, you're pizza all the time. And what happens is when you do that, you cause these imbalances that cause you to not feel good, and then you become not grounded, and then it's a domino effect. This starts happening, this symptom, this feeling, this anxiety attack, this panic, this depression, this thought. Then you're feeling like complete garbage. Let me show you what I believe will help you. Once again, you have to check with your trusted sources first, but what has helped me and still helps me to date anytime these situations arise. You have to watch out for things that trigger your anxiety, things that trigger your depression, whether that's people, whether that's situations, whether that's places, whether that's events, whether that's ideas, and even if it's medications. And I hate to say that, but unfortunately, when my dad passed, when he got so depressed, was dealing with so much anxiety, surrounded by bottles of medication. You have to be careful with these medications, and I really would ask and beg you to pray about what you've been told that you need to take. Because if you take this medication, and you take this medication and it puts you in a deeper, darker valley eventually in time, but it helps you out in the temporary, you don't want that to happen. And I'm not telling you not to take your medications, but there's a lot of people that as soon as they get a pill, they're not praying about it. They're just like, okay, I'll take this, boom, boom, boom. And then they become hooked on it. And then what happens is they're not grounded. They're not in balance. And then they become isolated, and then all these different things that we had talked about start to happen. So be careful of things that may be triggers, places, people, things that, upset you. Going to the grocery store, like start to feel anxiety like when you're at the grocery store. Why am I feeling this anxiety? What's going on in my life right now that is not causing me to be in balance? What is causing me in my life to not feel grounded? When I go into this store, all of a sudden things fall apart. So there's so many different levels and layers when it comes to anxiety and depression and health. Like I really couldn't explain to you in this short video. Candida's involved, parasites. Simply comes down to learning how to take care of the temple, making it a lifestyle, making it a daily approach, not depending on all these different man-made things or supplements, using natural things that God has given us to help us in those areas. It can help you out when you're having like anxiety attacks or when you're not dealing with anxiety. So it's just a way of living, and then it can help you out when you're depressed or like when you're not depressed. The keys we're going to talk about may sound very simplistic, but I'm telling you, I apply them to my life and they work every single solitary time. But I'm going to read you a quick verse, and I believe that this verse is going to really show that even if you're in a dark place right now, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with depression, this one right here is really going to show you what God is going to do in your life. I believe when you practice and apply wisdom that you are even listening to in this video. It says, you turn my wailing into dancing. You remove my sackcloth and clothe me with joy. That's right. He will bring you from this dark situation to a good situation, a healthy situation, a joyful situation, a happy situation. Clothed with this heaviness that you can't get out of, but he's going to remove that sackcloth and put you in a position to where you are wearing clothes that actually resemble joy, happiness, how he desires you and me to be in this life. I'm going to break it down to you 3 simple steps: physical, mental, and spiritual. Go figure. That is the whole entire approach of this channel. We're always working on a full systematic approach because we have to tackle it from all areas, because if we tackle it from one and we don't tackle it from this place, then what's going to happen is, think about it, imbalances. We're not going to be grounded. So the very first thing you want to take care of is the physical. What do? You want to take care of what you're putting in your temple, what you're eating. That's right. In my opinion, once again, not a doctor, you want to stay away from sugar. That's right. Sugar is going to be a trigger. You cannot afford to have these triggers. So if you're dealing with anxiety and you're already in a depression funk and you're eating chips and you're eating pasta and you're eating different things that turn into sugar, or even worse, you're eating cakes and Cokes, it comes down to sugar. Sugar triggers more symptoms, more anxiety, more depression. And if you've been dealing with it for a while, you probably already know this, but it's just a reminder that you cannot afford to make the enemy grow, in a sense. You got this enemy inside, which has to do with, other things with candida and parasites. So you're feeding the enemy, and it may feel good at first, but what's happening is you're just making the problem worse. So you want to stay away from anything that has to do with sugar, in a sense. In my personal opinion, you want to stay away from things that have to do with gluten. And I don't really want you to go on gluten-free pizzas and gluten-free different things like that. Those things actually, believe it or not, have a lot of sugar in them too. So you have to be careful with these gluten-free products that people think that are so healthy. Oh man, I'm eating this, it's gluten-free, it's good for me. If you desire to get out of this funk, you need to stay away from these things that will trigger your body to get even worse. And when I tell you, you can really elevate your anxiety and elevate your depression by what you're putting in, trust me, take this one to the bank. I've seen too many people, like including my dad, he would eat ice cream and things when he wasn't feeling good, and it would give him that temporary satisfaction, but then afterwards he was actually dealing with psoriasis and cancer and so many different things, and he started itching himself, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So let's put out the fire inside. How you put out this fire inside is by not pouring more gasoline on it. You have to take the gasoline away, and eventually what will happen is it will start to die down. Gut irritation really is a cause of a lot of our problems. Like 90%, I believe, of health issues start in the gut, maybe even more, they say. So you don't want to irritate this gut, because if you're irritating the gut, you could take all the supplements, all the vitamins, all the minerals, and it's not going to be absorbed because you just have this battle going on down here that you can't even see. You're going to start dealing with bloating and belching, and the list goes on and on and on. So stay away from those types of foods and then incorporate healthy whole foods. I'm not going to tell you what kind of diet you should be on. Personally, for my journey right now, currently, I'm on the ketogenic diet. I'm not going to tell you to be a keto person. I really hate debating like different diets. And when it comes to the vegan diet, I can tell you this. A lot of vegans are eating a lot of carbohydrates, and a lot of carbohydrates are going to turn into a lot of sugar. A lot of sugar is going to turn into a lot of gut irritation. I'm just trying to tell you on my journey what's working for me. So if you want to make any kind of adjustments to your regimen, I'm pretty sure your nutritionist would agree with me if you tell them what I'm talking to you about. Healthy, whole foods, but you want to limit your sugar, limit your carbohydrates, and you want to have protein, you want to have healthy fats, and you can have yourself a little bit of carbs. I would encourage you to limit the carbohydrate intake if you're dealing with anxiety or depression, in my opinion. I know from my previous videos how much of a believer I am when it comes to grounding. You want to stay connected to the earth. You don't want to, you need to stay connected to the earth by grounding, and then also getting some healthy sunshine and some fresh air. So as you're doing these things, you got the right foods in, you're grounded to the earth, helping you stay in balance, And then also you're getting some fresh air, you're getting some sunlight, you're getting some vitamin D daily, and then also you're moving. That's right, you're putting your body in motion, you're exercising. You can exercise at home a lot. You could do jumping jacks, you could do push-ups, get yourself a pull-up bar, you could do sit-ups, you could do planks. There's a lot of different exercises you could do from home, but you also want to get out there and you want to take a walk. I cannot tell you how important movement is, especially if you're dealing with anxiety, especially if you're dealing with depression. You need to get the body in motion. I know I talk about this every single video, but motion is going to help your emotions. It's going to help you to stay balanced. It's going to help you stay connected. That blood flow going, that cardiovascular going, that lymphatic system going, that heart just beating like in a good rhythm. It's going to push those nutrients that you're eating, those whole foods, to the right places. It's going to help and nourish your organs. Please start moving. I know some people hate walking. You don't have to run. You don't have to sprint. You can start off by simply walking. And if you're not able to walk right now, you can start making little improvements by moving or trying to strengthen your arms, like in bed. Whatever you can do, remember, movement matters. Movement matters when you're dealing with anxiety and then also dealing with depression, because you can overcome. A lot of people believe that you can overcome anxiety and depression just from movement, but I'm giving you different areas that you should tackle, because remember, we want to always tackle whatever problem there is systematically. So we're going to get the right foods in, we're going to get the sunshine in, we're going to get the grounding in, we're going to get the fresh air in, we're going to get the exercise in, and then before you know, we know that we got the body physically doing what it can do to help the problem that we currently might be dealing with, or a problem that we might be dealing with in the future. So remember, preventative medicine is the best cure of all. So take care of the temple in advance. If you neglected the temple, you have to make a decision. Am I going to start taking care of the physical? Because taking care of your body physically is very important. The next area that we're going to work on is the mental. That's right. We have to know how to think the right thoughts in these situations. For example, if you're ever having an anxiety attack out in public, or you start feeling very anxious, your hands are sweating, you're dealing with anxiety at that moment, you have to know what thoughts to think to bring yourself back in a grounded state. You have to become a pro, that's right, a professional at self-talk, because doesn't matter if you deal with depression, it's the same thing too as well. Because if you're depressed, you have to know how to be your own cheerleader, to uplift yourself out of this down state. You know, like when your mind is telling you like you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're ugly, and the list goes on and on and on, you have to know how to encourage yourself. Like inside the word it says, David encouraged himself. So you have to be your own cheerleader. So if you have one of these moments and you're panicking, you have to start bringing yourself into that grounded state. I'm going to be okay. You can start praying, start declaring the promises. You don't have to do it out loud if you're around a bunch of people at that moment in time. I was actually at the grocery store, believe it or not, a few weeks ago, and I had a panic attack out of nowhere as I was shopping, and I did exactly what I'm telling you. I started to self-talk. I knew that I had to ground myself. I started meditating on the promises in my mind. I slowed down a little bit. I gathered myself when it comes to my breathing, and I got myself under control. I got myself back in balance. It took about literally 5 minutes for me to get back to the state where I was feeling a lot better, where that anxiety had passed. So you have to resist the enemy in this time, but also just like you resist these foods and you resist these sugars and you resist this gluten and all these different things, you have to resist these negative thoughts, like, because you'll start panicking. Oh my God, I gotta go to the emergency room. I gotta go. How many times have we rushed to the emergency room and they're like, you know what, anxiety, dehydration. So really be careful in those situations not to panic. You got to get yourself grounded. You got to get yourself feeling secure. You got to get yourself in balance, and then just fight that enemy inside that is trying to make you fall apart. And a lot of this enemy is self-inflicted, because what's happening is we're not making this a lifestyle. And then before you know it, we become out of balance all over the place. And then we have these panic attacks. We have these anxiety attacks. We have these depression sessions because we're not putting in the necessary things that are needed daily to keep us away from these different situations. You're like, Justin, well, if you do these things yourself, like, why did you have that panic attack? I had that panic attack because I was overloaded. My computer was making that noise that's like, you know what, you're working too hard. That fan was on. Shh. I was overwhelmed. I had to be here. I had to do this. I had a video to make. I have calls to make. I had to update my CRM, blah, 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 blah. And then before you know it, as I'm grocery shopping, just doing something that I should be able to do like normally, all of a sudden I start panicking. I'm thinking about the coronavirus thing going on. Everybody's got masks on. So I brought myself into balance. I calmed myself down. I got the self-talk going, and it was a fight. It was a struggle. It was a real fight and struggle. All of a sudden I started moving slower, because your body will start falling apart when you're dealing with anxiety and depression. And it will keep on falling apart if you don't know how to take the necessary steps. Like in this situation, I'm calming down right now. I'm showing you that that's what you need to do in these situations. Get grounded. Even if you're depressed and you're in bed, listen, I got this. I'm going to get through this. He's right there with me. Desires for me not to be in this funk. And I believe he's going to get me out of this. So you start praying. You work on that self-talk. You start meditating if you're home. You work on these things continuously so you don't have to deal with different anxieties and depressions. And then also the environments. You have to be careful what environments trigger your anxiety or depression. Is it a particular, I hate to say this, family member? Is it a friend? Is it a coworker? Try to put yourself in that situation before it happens and visualize yourself like overcoming that situation. Sometimes we can't avoid people, we can't avoid family, avoid coworkers, so we have to know how to overcome these situations before they even come situations. So we deal with it in our mind, in our heart, in our prayer life, in that self-talk. So when those situations arise, we know how to handle them so we're not triggered. And then before you know it, oh man, you caused my anxiety, you caused my depression. No, you caused your anxiety and you caused your depression because you weren't grounded, you weren't connected. And therefore what happened is you did have an anxiety attack. So yes, there are certain people that are more challenging. There are certain environments that are more difficult, but at the end of the day, remember, keep yourself grounded at all times, and that's going to help you when it comes to your anxiety and depression. I truly believe it. Basically, in short, control the controllables, and then leave the things that you can't control in God's hands. That's right. I tell people this all the time. I control the controllables and you leave the things that you can't control in God's hands. So when you get yourself under control, that's all you could do, and you will start to notice that you have less anxiety attacks, less depression, as long as you're moving forward and you're putting yourself in a healthy, balanced state. Which brings me to the very last point, which is spiritual. That's right. You want to be grounded in your faith. You want to be grounded in your faith. What you believe in, you have to be grounded in. There's too many people out there, I hate to say it all the time, I heard Francis Chan say this in a video actually last night that I was watching, that claim that they're Christian. They got the fish sticker on the car, they're showing up to church, but they're not grounded in their faith. They're not in love with Jesus. And it really challenged me to think, I'm like, you know what? When you're connected to Him and you remain in Him and you're surrounded by His love, you're not going to be having anxiety attacks. You're not going to be dealing with depression because you understand the situations that, you know what, I can get out of this. I can overcome this. I am a conqueror. And chances are, if you're already doing the right things before, physically, mentally, and spiritually, you're not going to see anxiety show up. You're not going to see depression show up. Trust me, I'm living proof. I know when my anxiety is triggered. I know when my depression is triggered. And it's normally because I'm trying to do too much and I become out of balance and I'm not connected to Him as much. So you can take this as, you know what, this is somebody that's experienced anxiety ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was a little kid. Like I can remember having anxiety attacks even when I was like 8 years old, 7 years old, 6 years old. Dealing with depression at a young age, different spouts of it. We all have dealt with anxiety or depression at one point in our lives, unless we've been connected to God and we've really stayed true to that relationship. We were grounded in our faith. We were grounded in the promises. We were grounded inside the Word. Because I believe when you're connected to Him, you're not going to be dealing with these different things that cause you not to be fruitful. When you're having anxiety attacks, you're having depression, that is not fruitful, okay? That's just kind of like, you know what, hey, listen, man, I am not grounded right now. I am falling apart. I am not at peace. I don't have any harmony. I'm not calm. So take care of the physical, take care of the mental, take care of the spiritual, and I believe that that's going to be a big answer to your anxiety that you've been dealing with and your depression you've been dealing with. If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Share with a friend, comment in the comments below, and then also love to know your thoughts on this. If there's anybody you know that needs to hear this message, please share this with them. There's so many people that requested me to make this video. That's why I ended up doing it. And then also, lastly, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing today. We're always becoming the best we possibly can each and every day, each and every video. So thanks so much for being a part of the journey. I'll see you for another video here real soon.